It's October 4th, 2021. This is Roqe. She is an Iranian ESL teacher who has become recognized for her extremely popular Instagram and YouTube channel over the past few years, with her charismatic Canadian life partner, of course, a dynamic duo. Tina Talebi and her husband James are now YouTube sensations, bridging cultures and dance moves. Tina Talebi joins us for a feature interview today. But first, the Roqe away team is back from the UK with a lot of footage shot and a lot of fish and chips consumed. We will give our thoughts on the trip to England, Inglistan Khodamun, and how many PCR tests we've had in a week. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 149 of Roqe. Nice to be talking to you. Hope you're keeping well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dustan Aziz, Durud Bar Shoma. Tina Talebi. Tina Talebi came to Canada from Iran in 2001. Didn't speak any English.
Wow.
Yes. And I guess partly as a result of that, has dedicated her professional life now to teaching English. She understands what it is to be an immigrant who comes to this country and doesn't speak English. And so she's turning around as a ESL teacher, but she is best known, as we know, and as many folks listening would know out there, for becoming this YouTube, Instagram sensation with...
She married a Khariji named James. But it's adorable, actually. It kind of shows the perspective of someone outside of the culture and what they think about it. It's kind of cute. They kind of, in a fun way, this couple, Tina and James, it's very entertaining. I mean, he's very cute and charismatic, and he's Canadian. And well, I mean, I don't know his origins, but he's a Canadian guy, and she's more recently from Iran, and so she's teaching him Farsi. He's teaching her stuff, and they kind of bridge cultural divides and talk about differences. And anyway, just in the last couple of years, I guess in the COVID era, they've become internet stars. And so Tina Talebi will be joining us in just a few moments from lovely Kitchener, Ontario, Kion. I have not been there in quite some time.
Have you ever been there?
I think once we passed through, Have
Scenic,
you?
Yeah, of course. Scenic Kitchener. I'm being half sarcastic because actually it is a nice area. Waterloo, Kitchener. So anyway, we'll get to Tina. Hello to you, the fabulous Kion.
Hi, Jian.
Hi, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. And hello, Groovy Shaya.
Hi, Azizam.
Hello, Azizam. We are just back from the UK.
Yes.
Welcome
right.
back.
We exhale. We were in England, Inglistan, to shoot a bunch of footage for a new Roqe Media video series coming soon that Captain Reza has to feverishly edit now.
Yeah.
Maybe Sabi Roham can help you.
Maybe if Sabiram can help with our regular programming,
You can
then
do some editing.
I can focus on the Roqe on the Road, tentatively titled.
Right. It's actually not the title. We
That's
already
not
talked
the title.
about that.
It's working title.
But okay. We did a gazillion interviews. We went through about 6 umbrellas each.
Oh my God!
How many umbrellas did you actually bought? A few umbrellas.
I bought I think 2 umbrellas. Yeah, lost one, bought another one, and the freaking thing is expensive. I mean, holy! Every time I spend £1, and I'm like calculating it in my head.
I know,
and
you can't do the calculations.
No.
It's just
Terrible.
it's too frustrating to do the calculations. Oh, it's only £6 for a burger.
Right.
Oh, right. That's
$12.
$40.
Is it double or what? I don't even know what the exchange is right now.
But the worst part about the umbrellas was the whole time I was promoting England because of course it's my land of my birth. I love it. All things English, and I keep Kion, you're yawning.
Oh, I need sleep.
Well,
still
she's
jet
still
lagged.
in England time.
I woke up at 4 a.m. today and could not go back to sleep.
I know I did the same. But anyway, I was actually just talking about you because I kept on trying to promote England to you, and I know you're very weather sensitive.
Yeah.
And then the rain would start again, and Kion would be like, they don't get this in Florida, or whatever your favorite place is.
It was like summertime weather in Toronto while we were gone, like 30 degrees.
I know, and when we met a bunch of Persians there, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Captain Reza, when we were at that place on Saturday night, and they were like, "As Conodoma, that as Barfo." They came from the snow, and it was like, actually, no, it's warm in Toronto and cold and rainy here in London. But we've got this video series coming out. There are so many very unpredictable twists and turns.
Yeah.
So many.
I have no idea what this is going to, turn out to be. But let's just say by the weekend we had really integrated into parts of the Persian community in London. It's a very vibrant and interesting Persian community there. They're sort of situated in 3 places in England. Those who live in England will know. In London, I should say. Although more than half of the Iranians, people of Iranian descent in England, are in London, in the Greater London area. So there's Kensington and Kensington High Street, where the older, maybe first generation, the OGs, the ones who, what do you call it? The first wave immigrants came to Kensington, and we, hung out there a little bit. Then there's Ealing. And Ealing in the East End, near Ruislip, where I was born, is more middle period Persians, and that's where some of our friends like Ali Azimi lives, and some other folks. And then there's Finchley, which Captain Reza and I spent some time in with a couple of our guests there. And Finchley is the sort of new spot or newer. I mean, it's also been a newer spot where a lot of restaurants and Khorak markets and stuff have opened up.
Yeah.
So we explored all of those places, met some interesting folks. And I loved being, and we'll roll those out in the coming weeks on our platforms. But I loved being back in England. My Roqe sandwiches.
Oh yeah, explain that to people, because you said that when we were over there too.
Yeah, Roqe. You guys didn't know what it was, and I don't blame you, because it's a very weird thing. For some reason in England, we call arugula. The leafy green. Yeah, we call it rocket, or they call it rocket. Yeah, rocket. So you can have a rocket and cheese sandwich.
What's the significance of that?
It's tasty. That's the significance. It's tasty. Cheese. And by the way, it's easy to eat because no one's wearing a mask.
Oh yeah.
No.
The pandemic is over in England.
That was the first surprising thing I noticed.
We had to download at least 6 apps and answer all kinds of skill testing questions to get in. But once you're there,
free. Everywhere is just
Wasn't
open.
that weird?
Very strange.
Every shop, every bar, every hotel, no one wearing masks.
What about the vaccine, like passport? And
nothing needed. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, to get into the country without quarantine, you have your vaccines, but you show them, and you get this, what is it, the locator thing?
Locator form or something.
Locator form. But no, once you're in, it was actually, I think we all talked about this, and we don't have to go on ad nauseum for folks here, but for the first 2 days, we were just in shock coming from Canada, because we're so used to, it's been 2 years of wearing them. I mean, even as things have opened up, it's never been a question of taking off the mask. It's like the gym is open again, but we still have to wear masks. So to just go to a country where I guess they were saying that the rules have changed, where they're allowing, they said, it's your choice. You have the option, and which means basically
nobody does.
I mean, we did see some folks, and I know that there's going to be people
from outside of the country. Yeah. They look like.
Well, no, like our friend Mural Mohammadi, who we did an interview. She was saying that she still wears a mask on
the subway or folks, tube, as you call them, but that's it.
Well, I don't call it. It is called the tube.
Sure.
As you call it.
As you call it, Jian, you weirdo.
As people.
He came up with the name. No, well, anyway, people were. It was weird, Shia.
Yeah, I mean, when I want to go to washroom here, I wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's like wearing the hijab.
When you want to go to the washroom, we wear a mask too. I don't know.
It's not a nice image to have.
After a little while, it's liberating, though. I don't know. Like when we came back here, like I was like, oh, oh my God, I gotta wear this mask again.
Yeah.
Like today, I was returning some equipment. I walked into the store, forgot to put my mask on. The guy was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't let you in without a mask on."
Yeah.
By the second or third day, I realized there was one day where I left the place I was staying, and I didn't have my mask in my pocket, and I was like, "Oh, I got to go get back." Then I thought, I don't need the mask,
Right.
you know. Even though it was a very even in the gym, nobody was wearing a mask.
Yeah, nowhere.
Speaking of the tube, this was Captain Reza's first time in London.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was
But,
very
I mean,
interesting.
you really liked the tube. It took
I
a couple
liked
days
it.
where I was like, Reza, we got to take the tube.
Yeah, Jian kept insisting, we got to take the tube, and I was like, what is this tube? Like, I don't want to go into no tube. Like, don't talk to me about tube, no tube. And then I was like, let's just take an Uber. It's gonna be faster, probably. We got a lot of equipment with us and stuff like that. But then I went on the internet and I was like, wow, it's really cool, and like it's like a maze.
You
gotta get
realize
into.
it's the exact same thing as the subway in Toronto.
Well,
correct?
it
I'm sorry. What am I missing? here?
times
No,
a
it's
million.
It's
Like,
actually a little cooler.
How
I
is
think.
it cool?
It's got the
history.
circular, you know, and it's got and
Yeah.
it's a way more integrated, and you can go anywhere. I mean,
Literally anywhere.
let's just put this in the context. We would pick a place to go. Reza and I would take the tube, and Kion would be in a limo.
That's not a lie. Yeah, it's actually pretty
We'd
accurate.
get a chariot.
Hey, I took the tube one time, and
You
that was
did,
enough
you
for
did.
me.
You
I
said
was
that's
like,
the
all right,
last
we're
time.
done here.
At the end, I thought
I
like
love
she
the
was
tube.
I
I
know, me
really
too.
do. I mean, you guys know that. But also Kion. And I mean, Kion's wardrobe was quite a theme of the week.
She was there for the fashion week.
Listen, we would turn up. I mean, we knew, like, we'd be like, we're gonna shoot outside in a, you know, and Reza and I would be in like in old jeans and running shoes, and Kion would show up in, I mean, ready for the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And no word of a lie. One of your outfits
to
was
toe.
like a bridal, like a
It was
wedding
nice.
dress.
Yeah.
I did
almost.
get asked if I got married.
Yeah,
that day.
I was with you. I was with you on the. You wore it on the. And we went to a bar, and they were like, "Oh, it's your wedding day." I was like, "No, this is my friend Kion who dresses this way."
I will say I love the way that in London everybody dresses up. Like it's not you can dress however you want,
Yeah.
but the fact is people put in effort.
Yeah.
When you compare it to Canada, where it's like casual culture, you can wear sweatpants in public. I belong in London. Let's just put it that
There were
way.
a couple of moments where we were slowed down by Kion's heels as we were walking through a field. It was
middle of the night.
we're literally walking. No, you remember when we were walking through Hyde Park to get to Buckingham Palace,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we had to stop
Yeah.
for Kion to walk with her. I mean, it was, and then also Kion, you know, God love her. When we get to England, Kion becomes Kion Docht, right?
Oh yeah.
So especially with the people she wants to impress, the Persians. So we were like, and Kion, oh, this is Ali Azimi. She's like, hello, I'm Kion Docht. What the fuck is? Since when are you Kion Docht?
کلاسش بالاتره.
Yeah. She's like, and then like, you know, if there's some guy serving us in the, it's like, yeah, I'm Kion, you know. But then like, Kion, I want you to meet Bessa Buller. Hi, I'm Kion Docht.
There are three phases to Kion's name. One is Kion Docht, where if she meets a Persian, she's like, "Hi, I'm Kion Docht," and they're all impressed. They're
Because
like,
they
wow.
appreciate it. They know
So
what that name
But
means.
she also enunciates it like really
Yeah,
particular.
yeah.
I am
Kion
Kion Docht.
If she meets,
There should be like a Kion Docht the third. You know, there should be, should be
totally.
a title
Well,
behind it.
especially
like-
someone like Behzad Bulu, he's like, wow, چه اسم خوشگلی. Like, you know, he appreciates
is,
the
yeah.
I
culture.
just love that. I love that. It's been a year and a half. Like we called you Kion Docht a couple of times. You were like, "Shut up, I'm Kion. I hate that." But as soon as we get, you know, and this is a professor of Persian.
Yeah.
Like, hello, I'm Kion Docht.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kion. Yeah.
If she's hanging out with like second generation Iranian or
Yeah.
like foreigners and stuff, she's like, I'm Kion. But if she's dealing with authority of some sort, then she's Kion Docht, but she apologizes for her name.
Oh, she was the Kion Docht for authorities as well.
No.
For
At
no,
the
no.
airport, I like listen. They see that it's Kion Docht. I'm like, but I go by Kion. You know, I'm not one of
And
them.
I'm sorry, my parents.
It's like, look how white I am. I swear.
Exactly. But then amongst the Iranians, like the old school Iranians, like I'm Kion Docht.
love
Like
it.
yes, I'm one of you.
That was I love it. I mean, you know, it hasn't occurred to me to be Jian Pesach or
Docht.
Jian Docht.
I mean, it's the only place that Iranians actually appreciate the original Kion name. They're like, wow, your parents must have really...
Which is why you're saying it. I mean, that's just a funny thing that you need to say that. This is going to play well with Ali Azimi. Let me say, despite the fact that everyone, including the guys I'm with, know me as Kion, I'm going to be Kion Docht.
She's got it all figured out, and it works. She impresses people. And like we were at the hotel, she was checking in. I know.
Well, would you like to go for a drink? I'm Kion Docht. And then on the one hand, Kion's like in a wedding dress, and pumps or whatever. And then on the other hand, Reza keeps getting us almost arrested.
Oh wow! You're not lying.
I mean, how many times there was the time we were somewhere. It was in Chelsea or something like that, and Reza was like shooting me walking down the street, and then like a woman came up, panicked, why are you taking pictures of our children? And
that's it. Yeah,
really.
Yeah,
you took picture of children.
Well, I wasn't taking pictures of children.
No.
What do you think I am? No.
Shia, there was a school, and like school was out, parents were picking up their kids, and Reza, looks suspicious with
the camera. To be fair, Reza, Reza cleans up well, but not when we're in England. Yeah. He had the backwards cap and the sweats.
He looked like a criminal on the loose.
Criminal. And then we're at the British Museum.
The
second time, and we're in the ancient Iran section, and all of a sudden we're surrounded by security. I mean, to be honest, they weren't that intimidating. They were like tiny,
museum authority,
museum people. But there was at least 5 or 6 of them. What are you doing with like confronting Reza? Like Kion and I had to step in. No, it's okay. We're just friends shooting.
Like, do you have permission to shoot? I'm like, I don't need a fucking permission. I'm getting into argument with Jian is trying to defuse the situation. I'm like, I've been to Thailand. I've shot worse. Get out of here.
So I don't know what it is about you, Reza, but you look like people are.
It was like to get out of it. It had to be. You see, I'm with a woman who's getting married today. She's wearing, as you can see from her wedding dress.
This is a wedding video.
Is that a fashion to wear a wedding dress?
It was not a wedding. It was just a white dress, Shia, and it was just elegant.
And a tiara or something.
Yeah. To be fair, the headband kind of gave it away.
Kion, who does that?
Listen, it's London. You can dress up and not look weird, but just don't wear white.
Maral was saying you can be a cat if you want to be in London. So that's
that is
how
one thing,
free it is,
especially the area we were staying in, Soho. Like Friday night. Like listen, I don't know what is in fashion over there, but like it was all over the place.
Best.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's so cool.
I love my London.
Yeah.
And so we've got some interesting footage.
Yeah.
Who knows what it'll turn into, but we'll see. We'll get that out with our new series coming up soon. We're coming to you on roqemedia.com. It is there. You can link to all of our platforms. We're on an ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. So we're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and CastBox. If you'd like to see some visuals with your Roqe, switch over to YouTube right now. And if you like your Roqe descriptions and bulletins in English and in Persian, you can check us out on Telegram at Roqe Media. Actually, as of this recording, you won't be hearing this on Instagram because right now Instagram and Facebook are down, and actually WhatsApp is down.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't know how big a deal WhatsApp is for folks who don't have a lot of friends and relatives abroad.
So Reza?
But for
shut up.
No. For those of us who have a lot of people around the world back in Iran, different, WhatsApp is pretty much a lifeline, you know. So the fact that it's been down today, I'm assuming when people hear this tonight or tomorrow or in the coming days, hopefully it'll all be back up. I mean, for the sake of society, people are throwing themselves out of buildings probably right now. I don't know how the influencers, are dealing with this.
I'm just thinking about it right now because when we were in London, like we were communicating with all our guests who were booked and like people trying to book stuff and all through WhatsApp. Like if we were there right now,
that's a big one. You can kind of do. Of course, we like the social media in terms of putting our show on Instagram, but we can almost do without those. I feel like I don't even know how I feel about social media in general. I wish Twitter was down too, but WhatsApp as a communication tool to be down is going to be really problematic if it's still down. Hey, you can still go to our website. That's still up, roqemedia.com. roqemedia.com, where you can become a patron of this show. roqemedia.com. Just press on the support us button. If you're a regular listener of Roqe and you want to support and help us crowdsource this, that's a big way we keep things going. So just go to that support us button at the roqemedia.com website. Also, a shout out to myterms.ca. Arash and Anita Fazilipour. They are life partners and business partners and the founders of myterms.ca. This is a mortgage company in Ontario, Canada. Reza June?
Yes, sir.
You like mortgages?
I love mortgages.
You like houses?
I love houses.
You like multi-million-dollar transactions?
Who doesn't?
Right. myterms.ca. They have a really good record with myterms.ca, focusing on the service aspect of the mortgage business. They're very well reviewed online. They specialize in multi-million-dollar transactions through institutional and private sources and represent a handful of wealthy private investors who focus on $1 to $10 million first or second mortgages. If you're a builder, a developer, or a mortgage broker looking to team up with a great source, this company is what you need. Check them out online at myterms.ca or give them a call at 416-MY-TERMS. They also make it a big priority to give back to the Persian community. So Arash and Anita Fazilipour, check out myterms.ca. Also a big hello to Kati Kavandi and Kati Kavandi Immigration Services, kavandi.ca. You may have heard the ongoing story in Iran that there are likely to be restrictions coming on internet use if the internet comes back on, among other possible crackdowns. Apparently the word immigration is the most used word in Google searches in Iran, and the immigration demands have skyrocketed in recent weeks. So if you want to find the right immigration consultant, you don't want a consultant who might take advantage of this huge amount of applicants for beneficial purposes by giving misleading information. If you're looking for an immigration consultant, search if they are official members of ICCRC and look up their reviews. Kati Kavandi Immigration Services Inc. is well known for working honestly with their clients, very responsive in handling and chaperoning successful applications all the way through the process. Check out their reviews on Google. Kavandi.ca. Kati Kavandi Immigration. Kavandi.ca is the website. So much Persian food.
Yeah,
in the
right?
UK.
Oh, good Persian
So well, I mean, meaning I ate so much. And I think at one point Reza was just like, I've told you guys this before, but Reza was like, I can't believe how much you eat to me.
I was like blown away, dude. I'm like, how are you not 700 pounds right now? Like he was stressed out, he would eat. He was upset, he would eat. He was happy, he would like, let's celebrate. Let's go get something to eat.
I told you guys I eat a lot.
We had just had lunch, and then he went to do an interview. He's like, I'm starving. I was like, we literally just ate. It's amazing you're not large man.
Yeah, it's like
maybe that's what this moon face is from, all the kebab that's like caught in my cheeks like a chipmunk. But yeah, we went to some really good places. A really interesting restaurant we'll tell you about called Berenjak.
Yeah.
You know what that means, right, Shaya?
It means little branch.
But
little rice.
Little rice, yes.
Right. But you know what's funny? The first time Jian was like, let me look at this, see where this restaurant is. Berenjak. I'm like, Berenjak. In my head, I'm like, maybe like Baron and Jack. Jack. I'm like, all right, let's go to this fucking restaurant. Like, why are we going there? And then we go there. He's like, yeah, this is Baron Jack. And I'm like,
Baron Jack.
Baron Jack?
I don't speak like Chuck Norris.
Some Baron Jack.
Yeah, this is like Baron Jack.
And then he's like, I don't know, it's called Baron Jack. What does it mean, Reza? I'm like, it's Baron Jack. It means like little rice.
I didn't know what Berenjak was.
So funny.
Actually, Berenjak is a kind of snack in Iran.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah,
crispy rice.
Crispy rice.
That's right.
Went to this other place called Kate, another place called Sama. There's at least a dozen
Madar.
restaurants in Finchley called Farsi.
meal.
Yeah, Madar. We'll get to all of those on our series. Speaking of series, this Thursday, we're launching a new Roqe series right here on our Roqe platforms. Hit it, Shaya. The Contemporary History of Iran. This Thursday, we're going to have part 1 of Roqe's Contemporary History of Iran. This is a new series exploring Iran in the last 150 years, all things Iranian culture, and history from different angles through interviews, So we start Sopranos. We
Love it.
Isn't
I
that good?
love this music. Shayo, is this you?
Yes.
Excellent.
a new series. It is really good. The Contemporary History of Iran. This Thursday, look for that. For the next few weeks, we're going to be having this on Thursdays, our Roqe Contemporary History of Iran, our new series, and of course the regular Roqe episodes on Mondays. We're looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's basically just that music. We play the music on a loop,
Honest, that's
and then we
enough
go,
for me.
that's history, Tariq, and then we move on.
I can't wait, actually. There's so much that I don't know about our own history that I'm really looking forward to.
So
this.
for now, on Thursdays we're gonna run Contemporary History of Iran, and on Mondays we're gonna have our regular show.
That's
Is that
right. That's right.
Okay.
For now, we've got this series, The Contemporary History of Iran, on Thursdays. Yeah.
Perfect.
But all your favorite characters, Captain Reza. Remember the guy who was like, I really like that sweet man. And I was like, Shaya? And Savi Roham?
You know what's funny? Like, we met Shireen, our own Shireen Nasiri over
Yeah.
there, and for the first time we met, and then she was like, "Oh, I thought you were short," and I'm like, again
Again with the
whole
short, yeah.
thing.
I had a
get
couple people tell me
Yeah,
that.
she's like, Mashallah, qadet chaqad buland.
I know.
I know Bessa Balur, who you think is tall,
I
right?
totally
Don't you
Right.
think he's really tall?
Right. I thought
he was
I'm taller than
basketball
Bessa
player.
Balur.
Oh,
And he did the
take
same
that,
thing. He was
Bessa.
like,
You're short.
they always think I'm small. Yeah.
Weird.
Speaking of history, the Contemporary History of Iran, we went to the British Museum. We got to get to our guest, Tina Talebi. In just a moment, when we went to the British Museum, we were all excited. I mean, we basically wanted to shoot this whole segment around the Cyrus cylinder, right?
Yes,
Right, Shai? You know, the famous,
Yes.
I think we did It's All Persian to Us about
Yeah, we
human
did.
rights.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were all amped up about the Cyrus cylinder.
Yeah.
So we get there and Kion's like all excited about the Cyrus cylinder, taking pictures from different angles and stuff. And then we find out that the Cyrus cylinder that's in the British Museum, that's in this case that we're taking pictures with, is a fake.
It's a phony.
It's
Can
a
you
phony.
believe it?
The real one is out on loan.
Yeah.
And there's a little sign there if you read it carefully
the-
going, this, by the way, is not the actual
Right.
Cyrus cylinder.
I was getting emotional paying homage. I was like, oh, my people.
I know, we
This
were
is
like, isn't it
history."
beautiful?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. It doesn't, I mean, this is the whole point is, who knows what's in these museums, you know?
Right.
But you know what's
Sad.
funny? It's I told my parents, I'm like, we went there and we thought it was real and it was fake. And my mom was like, a few years ago, Iran made a whole big deal of it that the UK, like, they sent the original one back to Iran and is to be kept at the museum in Iran, in Tehran. When my parents went to see it, and they would let like one person at a time in and whatever. Like a few days later, it turned out that was fake. Also,
my
they didn't send the
God.
original
Now,
one.
Kion was so excited about this cylinder, she was introducing herself as Kion Ducht. And then when she found out it was a fake, it was like, I'm
back to
Kion.
Kion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Back to
Hello,
regular-
cylinder. I'm Kion Ducht.
it's like, Kion, it's fake.
You know, I think the way Kion emphasizes the Kion Ducht so much is why people feel like they have to comment on it. Like, you know, she's like, hi, Ali Azimi, I'm Kion Ducht. And so he's like, that's a great name. Like, he feels like he has to say something.
Yeah,
You know, it's like, well, she really cares about this name, you know.
Oh, big time.
Well, that's the only reason my parents named me that, so people could acknowledge, like, wow, like what a historic name. My God.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That was our riveting UK roundup, and we'll launch our series. As Reza says, "Roqe on the Road" is the title we're calling it right now, but we'll come up with something for you. That's a video series that's coming out soon. Watch for your Roqe platforms for that coming up. The Contemporary History of Iran this Thursday, and I'm going to see you guys on the other side of this interview. Groovy Shaya, Captain Reza, the fabulous Kion, back from the UK. Let's get to our featured guest. My featured guest today is an Iranian-Canadian ESL teacher who's become recognized for her extremely popular Instagram and YouTube channel over the past few years, with her charismatic Canadian life partner, of course, a dynamic duo. Take a listen to this.
First word, madrasa.
Work. School.
Arusi.
No clue. Pass.
Okay. قابلمه.
Pot.
گربه.
Cat.
بلوز.
Don't know.
شاباش.
Money.
Nice. Pool.
Pool.
Pool is also money.
Oh, okay.
Shabash is for dancing. Pool is like money.
Oh, okay.
Cat apps.
Food.
No, what's the vegetable?
I know. It's it's my favorite. It's celery.
Celery. Yeah, we're out of the rapid fire.
There you go. A little taste of Tina and James. It never stops being charming. Tina Talebi and her husband James have become internet sensations based on their engaging relationship and candor in exposing their everyday lives, making funny videos about all manner of subjects, from learning Farsi to tasting Persian food to the transition from being friends to a dating relationship to a marriage, the differences between Canadian culture and Iranian life, and the personal traits they've borrowed and adopted to achieve integration between their two cultures. Tina was born in Tehran, moved to Canada with her family in 2001. She says she did not know a word of English when she first arrived, and perhaps poetically has now dedicated her professional life to teaching English as a second language to new immigrants in Canada. Tina and James got married about 5 years ago. Right around that time, they started to really grow their Instagram and YouTube channels. They live in Southern Ontario, Canada, and right now, Tina Talebi joins me from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I have to say the Ontario, Canada part, because I'm not sure people listening around the world and in Iran know where Kitchener is, you know?
Yeah, it's a small city.
It's really fun to have you on the program. Do you still find it entertaining to listen back to you and James when we play a clip like that?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I haven't listened to that one in a while. So it's so funny.
You know, I was prepping for this and I went back to the beginnings of your Instagram page, your page. And, you know, if you go way back and you scroll way down, there's a picture of you alone by some pond in 2013. And it maybe has like a couple of hundred likes. I mean, did you actually imagine that you would become this internet sensation with a future husband, no less?
No, not at all. This actually happened over the past year. So, you know, it's been a big shock, but it's been so much fun because we're just kind of living our life and sharing it. And it became interesting to a lot of people, which is really cool.
You both work pretty full time. How much time do you get to spend on working on this channel and then responding to all this response you're now getting?
It's a good question because a lot of my friends online, our followers, always tell me, Tina, you don't even work. You're always on Instagram because I'm talking to them all the time. But yeah, I work full time. And then after that, I do Instagram. So all day I'm basically working from one job to the other.
So you only came to Canada about 20 years ago. I'm guessing you were about 10 years old. How would you describe your life growing up in Tehran and Gohardasht?
Oh man, yeah, I was 12 like when we came here. So I left Iran when I was 11. So when we came to Canada after Turkey, I was 12, 13. My life in Iran and in Tehran and Gohardasht was amazing. I had such a good childhood. My parents and my brothers, yeah, we were always traveling together because my dad would drive a truck. And he also built homes. So in the summertime, we would just travel all over Iran. So I've had such a huge love for you know, my home country because I've seen it all. I've seen all parts of Iran almost because we traveled with my dad. So yeah, I can say I had the best childhood. If
it was so good and you have such a love for Iran, how difficult was it to leave?
It was very difficult. Yeah, it wasn't easy. We were the last of our family members who were still living in Iran. So it was easy when we came here because we had them. But it was hard because obviously we have other family members and friends that we miss so much now. Yeah, so, and you know what? It was the hardest for me, even though my two older brothers were in Iran for longer. I didn't adjust to the Canadian culture for a long, long time. I could say until I probably met James, where I feel like now Canada is my home too.
I want to get to that. I want to get to your adjustment, but just sticking with Iran, what was the final precipitant, or was there one for your family to say, okay, we're gonna get out of here? Yeah,
so we're Baha'is. That's our religion, and in Iran, you know, we're not, to say the least, liked a lot. So we can't go to school, the university especially, and we wanted to continue our education and have a better life. So that's one of the main reasons why we left. And of course, all of our family was already here since the revolution happened long time ago.
I was going to ask you about that. We don't often hear the stories of Baha'is who are still in Iran, post-revolution, etc. What's that like for a kid? How aware were you of, not that making you Baha'i makes you different, but it does in Iran. How aware were you of that difference?
Very aware, I can say, because from the beginning, people pick on you in school for it. Because Iran has religious classes in school, like in regular curriculum. So you have to everybody knows you're from a different religion if you are. And so I was very aware from the beginning, and kind of was taught from my parents and Sunday school teachers how to just be kind, and no matter what, just be nice to people, whatever they think and say about us.
And how did you do with that?
I think
it's a lot to ask of a kid. I wouldn't be surprised if you at some point resented your parents. Like why am I born into this religion that means I get picked on or something?
No, I can't say I did, because we had a pretty big Baha'i community in Iran, and I was with them, so I didn't feel like I was so different until these little things would happen. Like if I was in school and I would get picked on, not by my friends or kids, mostly by adults, by our teachers, singling you out because of your religion, or asking you, well, if you're Baha'i, how do you pray? And then, would just make us do kind of embarrassing things. And then when we would do them, they would kick us out of school because they would say that you're promoting your religion, even though they asked me about it.
Wow.
So little things like that. I can say that it didn't affect me, but now that I think about it, I'm like, it would have probably been more difficult if I had stayed and went to high school there. Probably I would have experienced more. So for my brothers, it was probably a lot more than me.
It is one of those things that you probably don't realize because you're living with it every day, but it's an added layer. It's not, being a kid in Iran in the contemporary world is not always the easiest thing anyway. And so now there's this added layer where you're of this religion that has notoriously been persecuted for generations. Do your parents talk about that? Do your parents talk about what it was like to be Baha'i in Iran?
Yeah, we hear all the stories, even from when before the revolution, from neighbors, and how they treated Baha'is, and my grandparents, and the older generation. So yeah, we know a lot of different stories, and it's sad to say that it hasn't changed. So.
Watching you on your videos, I look at you and think this person's probably always been a performer. But were you always this energetic and ready to be in front of the camera when you were, say, a kid in Iran?
Yeah. One of my brothers makes fun of me. His name is Sina. He says that when it was your birthday, you would act like you were the queen of all your friends, and you would make them circle around you and clap, and you would dance in the middle. So I don't have a memory of that, but he says you were like that from the beginning. You just loved, that attention, especially on my birthday.
You don't remember gathering your friends and making them clap in a circle around you?
No, I don't. Maybe it was so natural to me that I thought, this is life. But I don't remember that. No, I think he exaggerates a little bit, but.
Did you ever, did you ever have some sense that you're going to be a public person in one way or another?
No, not at all. Not even till last year. Not at all. I think James had a lot to do with it.
We're going to get to James because he's a fascinating guy. You've said you were, bullied when you first came to the West. You guys would have immigrated. So you came in 2001, same year as 9/11, when there was a heightened racial chauvinism, stereotyping of Middle Eastern people. What was life like for you when you first arrived?
It was difficult because I didn't know the language. So it was hard for me to defend myself or even understand if people were talking about me like kids at school. But it didn't take too long. I would say around 5, 6 months, I learned the language. I was able to communicate. I had friends. So those few months in the beginning, it was really hard. But then I found friends from all over the world where they also didn't know English. So we kind of understood each other, in ESL class. And then it was nice. It was easy. I remember on my first day to school, there was a girl from Afghanistan who, their Farsi is different from us.
Yes.
So, but she helped me so much with everything because I didn't know numbers. I didn't know anything. So she helped me with my locker. She helped me with so many different things.
You didn't know numbers? Yeah, you mean English words for numbers?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, English words for numbers. I know, like Farsi. Actually, fun fact, my math was probably at a level from Iran from grade 5 because I finished grade 5. And when I came here after living in Turkey for 2 years, I was in grade 8. And my math was probably at a grade 10 or 11 high school compared to all the other kids in grade 8. But because I didn't know what's in English 9 times 5, even though I knew the times table like nothing, I just couldn't answer the questions on the test. I remember feeling like, oh.
Can I just ask you, if you're from Tehran, I mean, I'm getting spoiled by doing this show and realizing we have a big audience in Iran who clearly understand English or want to listen to English or something, and having relatives there who can speak a little bit of English or a lot of English. Why didn't you speak more English, or have things changed that much in 20 years?
100%. There was in English classes that you could go to, but I was young. I was only in grade 5. So from grade 6, 7, and 8 in Iran, you start learning English in school. So I was just right before that.
I see.
Yeah.
You said a few moments ago that you had more trouble integrating than your older brothers when you came to Canada, which is counterintuitive because it's usually the younger kid that it's easier. The older ones have spent more time integrating into their homeland and come to a new place and have trouble learning the ropes. So why was it more of a struggle for you, do you think?
I think because I'm a sensitive and emotional person, and I would think about Iran and I would think about how different life is. For instance, around here, closer to the evening, there are no people on the streets, especially in our little town here. And then I would compare it to Tehran when we would go to Darband and there was so much life and livelihood. I missed it, and I missed my friends and mostly my cousins that I grew up with there, second, third cousins. And yeah, I missed the food. I missed everything. And my brothers, I think because they had sports here, they started in sports right away. So they were part of I don't know, maybe they had more friends, and it took me a longer time to find that kind of feeling. And the weather really bugged me. I hated the snow.
Well, climate change has changed that. There's no snow anymore. You're okay.
Exactly.
You end up finishing high school, and I'm trying to piece it together because there's no really detailed bios about you online and stuff. I think you end up going straight to teachers college. I know that teaching was really important to you. Why? Why was teaching so important?
So after high school, I actually went to university. So I got my bachelor's degree and then teachers college. When I was in school and university, I was majoring in 2 different things. I had biology, which was sciences, and then religion and culture, which was all about religions of the world, which interested me because of my own upbringing. And I didn't know what to do. And actually, one of my professors, her name is Mina, she's an Iranian professor here in Waterloo. She was my inspiration. She told me, she's like, why don't you want to teach? I see how you are with your friends and how you are in class. I think you should go into that. And I thought about just ESL as a general because I had so much fun in it, and it was the reason why I learned English, and my parents went there, all of us. So it kind of made, all of a sudden it clicked. I'm like, yeah, I don't care about science. I'd rather do this.
Yeah, I actually wanted to. It's a great segue because I was marinating on the idea that you now teach ESL and you went through ESL. In fact, it was the lifeline for you. What do you think, or what have you learned about how your journey through ESL has informed you as a teacher?
It's such a sensitive time when you move to a new country. Like, I was so hypersensitive with everything. Everything made me depressed. Like, the weather made me sad. Not having the right like store to go to buy different snacks that I like made me sad, you know? So when you have a really nice teacher who understands that, I think you feel like, okay, at least one person understands what I'm saying. And because my family, we only spoke Farsi at home, we never lost our first language and it's never been English, that I thought to myself, you know, I think this understanding that I have, this kind of empathy that I have towards people, newcomers, I think can help them. And I teach adults, so I don't teach kids. I teach students who are probably like 10, 15 years older than me.
And what do you learn from them? Like what have you learned from being an ESL teacher?
A lot. All my students are like lawyers and doctors and dentists and surgeons from their own country. So they're like my doctors. If I have like any kind of a feeling that's not right, they make sure to tell me what to do. Other than that, they have so much wisdom and life experience. You know, when I talk to them about different things, they help me, give me advice. Yeah, especially when we're practicing speaking English, those are the best days.
Just out of curiosity, we're going to have an episode actually about Persians teaching English with a couple of very prominent online stars now who've made their bread and butter teaching English. But what have you learned about what the most challenging part of learning English is for Middle Eastern folks or Iranian folks?
I would say it's number one thing is that they're shy. They are so afraid to make a mistake when they're speaking because they want it to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. And Iranians want everything to be exactly the way it should be, right? So I always tell my Iranian students, I'm like, who cares? Make a mistake, you know, just talk, just say whatever you want to say. And even in the middle, if you throw in a Farsi word, it's okay. I understand. You know, I'll help you. And they just don't want to make a mistake.
Okay, so tell us the story of first meeting James. Where did you first encounter this man?
So I bought the first Samsung Galaxy phone, the smartphone, the first one. So I think now we're at like what, 9, 10, like 12, something like that. I had the first one, and I went from a Sony Ericsson tiny little phone to that, and so I didn't know how to use it. And I remember it had an icon in the notification center that I didn't know what it was, and I was at the mall with my friend, and so I went to the store where I got my phone, and James worked there. So when I walked in,
this is in Waterloo, this in Kitchener?
Yeah, I'm in Kitchener. The mall is in Waterloo. Waterloo is like, Kitchener and Waterloo are basically one. They're right beside each other. They're like 10 minutes apart. So I went to the mall there to my like phone provider place. It's called Bell. And he worked there. So when I walked in and I saw him and he saw me from the counter, he quickly came out and came towards me to help me. And funnily enough, his work has always been outdoors, either working on exterior of homes or roofs or different things like that. So he actually had a American football injury, and that's why he wasn't working at his real job, and he was working at Bell because he couldn't do physical labor. So he's like, hi, how can I help you? And I'm like, oh, I don't understand these things on my phone. And because he was new, he actually couldn't help me. He's like, oh, I don't know either. Let me take you to my friend. And then he kind of stood there. I got my phone fixed, and he was kind of just standing there and staring at me, and my friend was just looking at me. She's like, do you know this guy? And then I left. We didn't talk after that. But weirdly enough, I had a part-time, very, very part-time job where I worked once every like 2 weeks for like 3 hours, and I was a receptionist at a salon. So if his store was like across on the other side, mine where I worked was over here, so we were across from each other.
Okay.
So a week later I had a shift, and I showed up. I was there, and while I was working, I hear someone saying, hey, how's your phone? And I look up, and it's James. And then at the end of that night, I think he wrote his number on a piece of paper, and he wrote his name, and he's like, call or text. And I texted him the same night.
Wow. I always love stories like this, especially when there's a happy ending of you guys being such a great couple. But Did you know? Did you have a sense when you first meet this guy, like the very moment you met him? I wish he was here because I want to ask him if he would. I would ask him the same question. But did you have this kind of weird feeling of like, oh, this is someone that is important. This is an important meeting, or did it just seem like some guy in a store?
No, honestly, just to be honest, it was for both of us, and I know he'd say the same because we talk about it all the time, and people ask us. It was just number one, we were attracted to each other from our looks. I liked how he looked, he liked how, that's it. It wasn't like, oh my God, that's going to be my husband. Never in a million years I thought that when I met him first.
You thought he was hot, basically.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, he's so hot. Yeah.
And what about when he came into the store the next week? And I mean, it sounds like he didn't think twice when he left his number for you.
No, I texted him the same night because I remembered him and I talked to him about to my other friends. I was like, oh, there's this hot guy who works at Conestoga Mall, and I've never seen him before because he never worked at the mall because of his football injury. He was there. So yeah, I was excited to see him again. It was nice. And then when he gave me his number, I was so happy. I went home and I texted my close friends. I was like, the guy from the mall gave me his number. What should I do? And they're like, don't call him, don't text him. I was like, screw you guys, I'm texting him tonight.
Now he's clearly, or I mean, actually he seems quite Persian these days, but clearly when you first met him, he was not a Persian guy. Was that an issue for you at all? Did you think that you were were you more into dating Persian guys, or were you always okay with Kharaji, as we would say?
No, honestly, I can't say I even had experience in dating. Like my first real date was with James. So yeah, no, it wasn't a problem. And it was exciting because it was like all my first experiences were with James. So yeah, it was nice.
He seems so open and loving about learning Persian and integrating into Iranian family habits and Iranian community. Was he always that way? I mean, I know you're not going to say anything bad about him, but was he like that from the very beginning? Was he asking you questions about being Persian or trying to learn the words or the way he does now? Yeah.
So when he met me first, he said he thought I was Colombian. And so later when I told him, no, I'm Persian, he's like, what's that? He didn't even know where Iran was. And I'm like, oh, Iran, or Iran, as maybe you would have heard it. And he said, where is that? I literally had to show him on Google Maps where it is. So he had no idea, but he's always been interested and open after that. Maybe it's that kind of not knowing where this land is. Like he made so many like funny comments to me that maybe people would call ignorant and not knowing where what they're saying. Like, do you want me to share one with you?
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
I remember one time he lived in a house where they were doing construction in the house, and the bathroom didn't have a door. And I was visiting him and we were like watching a movie or something, and I had to use the bathroom, and I'm like, where's the door? Like, which, I need to use the bathroom. He's like, oh, you want me to just like put a curtain on the thing or something? And I'm like, no, this is so weird. I can't use the bathroom like this. He's like, well, aren't you used to this kind of bathrooms from like Iran? I'm like, no.
Yeah. So you quickly disabused him of any notions of our barbaric upbringings in Iran.
Yeah.
It's funny, the focus, I mean, I'm fans of yours and I watch these videos, that the focus often does seem to be on him coming to you, like him integrating into becoming Persian. How have you integrated into being Canadian? I mean, can you think, besides the fact that you live here and have to learn the language, are there ways in the relationship itself, for example, where you feel like you've had to kind of become more Western to be a better fit with him? Or is it always this poor guy has to be more Persian, like us?
So yeah, that's the thing that people always ask, and they think because I am Persian, I'm the one asking him, you need to learn this or do this or look at this. But he's always been so curious. So it's mostly him asking me, or mostly him saying, I want to go to Persian school, things like that. But in terms of me, I've adapted to so many things that are Canadian. I could say maybe Canadian activities like winter activities. Before, like in the winter, I wouldn't even leave the house. I hated even being outside. This past year, he taught me how to ice skate. Yeah, we do a lot of different things like that. That has to do with Canadian culture, even with food, even like comedy or things like that. Yeah, I would say it's 50-50, but no one cares to know what I'm learning about Canadian culture,
Yeah,
it's not interesting to me.
Decidedly less charming than than James trying to speak Farsi and doing some qairing. There's obviously a mixed race element to your relationship that I think is inspiring for a lot of people. I know you've said your parents were always very open-minded, but did you get any pushback from other relatives or the Persian community when you first announced, for example, that you were engaged, that you were going to get married to this guy?
Yeah. Family, like relatives, none whatsoever. Everyone was super supportive and open-minded, and it's just normal, I guess, because even in our family we have mixed, like, interracial marriages. Maybe friends but they never told me, maybe behind my back, but no one to my face.
And I guess on the flip side, I imagine you guys, I mean, I don't even know what is James's background. What is what is his ethnic background?
So James is a mix of so many different things, like American, Canadian, Scottish, German, little bit of, I think, Trinidad. But his parents are both light skinned with no African American features. But his great grandfather was half, like a 25% from Trinidad. So all of these generations, only a few members of the family has gotten these genes. So James has a twin who is white skin, blue eyes, and he is the way he is. So it's really interesting, his family history.
I really like it. I really like you guys. And it's not, I mean, it's not like it's some huge, change from, obviously there are a lot of Iranians who are in mixed race relationships, but there is something about when I was first watching videos of you guys and I was like, why is this so interesting to me? It shouldn't be. And I think it's because I don't often see a Persian girl with like a black guy or so, that this kind of, it still feels progressive somehow. It feels like cool or new. And I imagine you guys get a lot of support for that cross-cultural nature of what you're in a sort of a leading by example way, which again sounds strange for 2021, but not necessarily entirely for the Persian community. What do people say in that regard?
In the beginning, there were a few strange comments here and there and directs that were racist, but I took it as like my job to make sure I have conversations with people who were feeling like that, and they totally flipped and became like open-minded and apologized for those comments. I can say every single person that I spoke to, and which wasn't a lot, maybe 3 or 4 that I saw. Maybe there were many that I didn't see, but in terms of support, oh man, so much support. Like especially from Iranian girls, they want to know how to introduce someone to their family. What did you do? How did it work? And they want so much different type of advice that I don't know if I should be giving out advice, but I just tell them what happened to me.
Tina, when did you guys, I guess, decide or look into each other's eyes and give a nod that you're going to showcase so much of your lives and relationship online? I mean, you as you say, it's really taken off in the last year, but you have been making these videos for a few years. You have pictures of even when he proposed. I mean, there's you guys have really laid bare in a very 21st century way. We're growing with you at this point and the relationship. Was that a conscious decision? How much did you talk about that, and where have you gotten to in terms of any boundaries that you place on how much you want to showcase that?
With us, there is no limit, I would say, with our life of what we want to share or not. We just share everything, and it's like very easy and comfortable and natural. Before this whole year, we were promoting our YouTube and Instagram as travel, because we traveled so much. We wanted to have a couples travel page. So I'm sure if you went all the way down, you saw there were so many travel photos. but no one cared, there's so many traveling couples, it didn't hit that algorithm. But I guess the reason why it did of the Persian and Canadian culture mix, the only place I would say we don't share too much is people who don't want to be online, like on our stories. So we always ask like our family and friends, and there are people who don't really care to be on there. So other than that, no, we don't mind sharing things. We never had like a meeting where we sat down and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We always wanted to do that. So when it naturally happened, it was like, oh my God, awesome. Let's go.
I mean, Persians are, or can be, Persian families especially, notoriously private. At least they used to be. I mean, what did your family, direct family or extended family, have to say about how openly you would expose your life?
They were okay with it. Yeah. They didn't really say anything in specific, just kind of like, be careful, this is all online. Just be careful who you like talk to and what you say and things you share.
God, your parents are so much cooler than...
They're so chill.
I mean, my mom would be like, "Oh, Betty Hamin, she's out of biggie," like she would just be like.
Yeah, no, my parents are really, really relaxed.
That's great. When was it clear that you guys were? I mean, you said that nobody cared as much about the travel stuff or whatever. When was it clear that you suddenly were becoming this online hit?
I think when COVID happened and the lockdown was going on, the first one, James and I were just home, and I wanted to start a TikTok account. And James was like, no, TikTok is for people who dance. I don't want to do all this like stupid dances. I'm like, no, we don't have to dance. We can just do kind of like funny things that we think is funny, and we just share it, and it's fun. And just like how my Instagram was, it was for family and friends. And I thought, TikTok could be the same. And then his first video that went viral was when he was eating cutlets with piyaz, like piyaz akam. And he loves piyaz, and he's never ate it before like that, just maybe sauteed. So after that, we're like, okay, so people like what you do on a regular basis. So let me show them other things that you ask me or you do or say. And that's when it took off. Yeah.
I like that you say he at first was like, I don't want to dance on one of those TikTok. All it is him dancing now. I mean, every video he's dancing.
He loves that. Like, he loves Persian dancing, and he thinks it's so fun, and he finds it just very entertaining. Because when we would go to like Mehmanis and Arusis, he'll be like, all right, like these people are so into dancing. Are they all drunk? I'm like, no, everyone's just like having a good time. Just chilling. So he doesn't mind dancing Persian.
Some of these videos have, a couple of million views. I mean, do you even? What do you make of that?
It's so crazy. Like the first one I was talking to you about, the kotlet one and trying about and all this stuff. We couldn't believe it when I like refreshed the video, and it went from like. Usually we get a couple of hundred views it was the TikTok one. And then I like refreshed it, and it was like 100K. And I was like, what? I just posted that. And I showed it to him. He's like, whoa, that's so cool. Is it your profile? Maybe somebody uploaded it. I'm like, no, this is my profile. Literally 5 minutes later, it was like 500,000. In like 24 hours, it was at 2 million. And then all of a sudden, people on Instagram found it and shared it with each other. And then my Instagram went from, I think, 1,100 followers to like 20K in a week. It was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I wanted all the time. And now it's here. I was so excited. Still am.
Who is your audience?
So there are Persians from all over the world, and also different countries that people who have been with Persians maybe before either are or have been in the past, which find it interesting and funny. And I can't say they're all women, because it's, I think, 60-40, so a little bit more than half are women, and all ages, all sorts of ages.
I often, I mean, we're nowhere near the sensation you guys are in terms of the online presence, but I often tell people when I'm doing talking to somebody like you, like an influencer or somebody who has gotten this big audience, that it's so gratifying to me that we're doing something where there's Iranians in Iran who have become really interested in this content. What does that feel like for you, this Baha'i kid who left Iran over 20 years ago, to have this following of people in your own home country who are this captivated by your life?
It feels really nice. It feels warm and cozy. You know, I feel like the love that I've had for Iran is kind of like, it's not like it's paying off, but it's showing me that it loves me back in a way, you know, because I've always had so much love for Iran, and I would always reminisce. And my cousins here all know, like, I talk about Iran all the time. I'm like, well, you have to try this from Iran, and this lavashak is good, but the ones from Iran are like this, you know. So I feel like it's such a warm feeling for me, and I feel grateful. And at times I forget that there are all these people who are watching us from Iran and all over the world. It's really crazy. I used to look at influencer interviews and be like, how do you forget you have 500,000 followers? But you really do, especially when you get them over such a short period of time. It's really, you don't understand it in a way.
Also, you can't possibly think about 500,000 followers when you're posting something, because it'll fuck with your head, right? You can't.
True. Yeah,
it just wouldn't.
Definitely.
It wouldn't. Do you ever feel? Most of the content that I've seen is not political. It's not particularly heavy. Do you ever feel like you would need to be? Does anybody say to you should speak out about Iran, or this execution that happened, or the problems in Khuzestan with water, etc.?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. When I see something that kind of speaks to my heart, I share it. Or if it's something, an Iranian who's like the chef, I just shared something from a page that they asked me. They're like, can you share the chef who cooked at the Met Gala? And they have a restaurant in New York, Sofre, I think it's called. Yeah. So yeah, people definitely send me a lot of things. Sometimes I feel the pressure, both James and I, and he always tells me, oh, don't do it if you don't want to. But you know, I want to make sure that I'm representing Iranians all over the world. So I pick and choose the things that are close to my heart and that I know at least a few things about. And I can say with all honesty, I don't know a lot of things about that's happening in Iran and even all over the world. I try to kind of not with negative news. But yeah, people pressure sometimes.
Do you feel pressure to create new content at this point? I mean, is it a job now? You've created this monster machine. Do you feel the need to? Oh my God, we haven't posted yet this week. We need to create content.
Not yet. Only because when James and I, let's say, are driving somewhere, we're talking about something and it's funny, and I just whip out my phone and we make a video right there. That's why you see it in the car, in the house mostly, where we are naturally just hanging out together. So not yet, but we used to put out content 6-7 days a week, and now we've toned it down to maybe 4 or 5, maybe sometimes 1. If we're traveling, we don't. So it's more relaxed now, for sure.
Has the topic come up of giving up your day jobs? I mean, you could start making a lot of money doing this, right? From the streams or from, I don't know, promotions or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. James before even our Instagram kind of made it this far, James was always like, if you don't want to wake up in the morning, it's okay, babe. Just quit your job. I'm working. I'm like, he's so sweet that way. And he always wants me to be comfortable. And I'm like, no, like, I love my job. I work part-time as a teacher, so it's not that much of my day. I used to work full-time, but after a bit, I realized I have to kind of manage a lot of different things. So now I'm part-time this, part-time that. Maybe in the future, I'll be full-time Instagram, but not yet because I just can't seem to let my job go.
I know with COVID, things are just opening up, but do you get recognized when you go out? I mean, your channel is that popular, especially I was thinking about those adults that you teach ESL to. They've got to be watching your videos, right? They got to know that you've become this internet star.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird. Like sometimes this is the first week of school that we've been back, and I have a couple of Persian students and they're so sweet. One of them I know from before Instagram happened. The other is now new. At some points it weirds me out because I'm like, because people are on their phone a lot, and I don't know if they're taking pictures of me or videos or like I have no idea. It's very new. Maybe I can answer this question in a few months, but so far maybe it's only in my own head. But it's nice every time someone recognizes us, places that we go. It's really cool.
It all feels really positive, Tina, and I think it's so great. I mean, it sounds like it's just been, there's so much toxicity and there's so much negativity that is associated with the online world, that this sort of journey that you guys have had so far being as positive as it has, the reaction and response being positive, the vibe you guys put out there, and the cultural integration, it's really nice to see it going so well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I can say I agree. It's been so lovely. We feel so grateful, and because people go through so much online, and so far it's been amazing for us. Just a bunch of friends. We feel like we have friends from all over the world.
Have you returned to Iran at all? And if not, would you?
Probably not anymore. I don't think I can now, from the attention that we've gotten. But in the past I have, yeah. In 2007 and 8, both summers I went back with my mom.
I think when
really nice.
When the circumstances allow, that's going to be the next level, is taking James to Mashhad and plopping him on a street and getting it on video.
That would be amazing.
It's really great talking to you. Kheli Khoshash Shadam. Thank you so much for the time, and congratulations on the success you've had. We'll be following, and I hope to see you guys before too long.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It was supposed to be with James maybe popping in, but he really had to go, so I'm sorry about that.
Next time, we need him. We need him as well.
Yes.
I got a lot of questions for him. So, merci. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Khadafez.
Tina Talebi, an Iranian-Canadian ESL teacher and a very popular YouTube and Instagram presence, exploring cultural issues, connections, and divides in her fun way with her charismatic husband, James. Tina Talebi joined us from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada today. Right, microphone's back on for Captain Reza, Groovy Shaya, and the fabulous Kion. Tina Talebi. You know what was nice was to have somebody, I'm not sure how many folks we've had on this program of Baha'i faith.
I don't
think we've had any.
Really?
I don't remember any.
Well, shame on us. We should have, and it's great to have Tina, talk a bit about that. Baha'is are a big part of our community, and certainly what they've been through needs to be recognized.
And it reminded me of most of my friends, actually, I grew up with, because the Baha'i faith started in Shiraz.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It started in Shiraz, and then and a lot of my friends were Baha'i, and they you could finish high school, but you can't go to university.
Oh gosh.
And it was so heartbreaking. I remember a very, very dear friend of mine who's now here, actually, Siavosh Dana. Dana. He was straight A student all throughout high school. He was way better student than I was. He couldn't go to university.
Oh my God.
And it was terrible. Wasted 4 years of his life just working odd jobs here and there. And then after a little while, he was able to go to Turkey, get asylum, and come to Canada.
I never realized it was that hard for Baha'is to get through life there.
Yeah, it was very heartbreaking, but.
Wow. Well, anyway, Tina Talebi, I didn't expect her to not be charming, and obviously she is, and she's. We talk about them being a dynamic duo with her and James. She certainly referenced him a lot, as someone who. It's cute the way. she just, it's nice that they've somehow met in the middle,
Yeah.
you know, with her learning the Canadian culture and him
It's
being as
beautiful.
enthusiastic as he is about Persian
And you
culture.
said it. It's all, their account is all positivity. Like you watch all their videos and it really generally makes you happy. There's just no, it just
Yeah, it's
brightens
true.
your day.
Yeah. It is all
it's very
positive.
sweet.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that she, when she first came here, she didn't know the language and she struggled, and lo and behold, she ended up becoming an ESL teacher because she understands their struggle. I think that's really beautiful.
Yes. It was, and Shaya?
It
thoughts?
was interesting for me that she actually didn't know numbers when she arrived. It was really interesting, the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No? Okay. So
He's like,
it wasn't interesting. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Nobody? Okay, moving.
A big thank you to Savvy Kati Kavandi. Actually, that's not a bad name. Kati Kavandi Immigration Services for making this edition of Roqe possible. Kavandi.ca, Kion. Kavandi.ca, Kion Docht.
How nice.
This is a full-service immigration firm that offers all inland and overseas immigration services, including temporary visas, permanent visas, PR extensions, citizenship applications. Kati and her team are available to inform and assist you as their client throughout the whole immigration process. If you want to come to Canada, or you're here, you need support, you need an immigration counselor, Kati is your person. Kati Kavandi Immigration, kavandi.ca. And a shout out to Anita and Arash Fazalipour, the founders of myterms.ca, very successful mortgage company in Ontario here in Canada. They believe in educating their clients to understand every aspect of the financing being obtained, and they see each transaction through from the beginning to the end to make sure that they're closed with ease. If you're looking for a mortgage in the Toronto or Greater Ontario region, myterms.ca is the place to go. Bachaha. myterms.ca, they're among the best, and both Arash and Anita make it a priority to give back to the Persian community. Big thanks to them and myterms.ca. Reza was just talking about the Shiraz and the Baha'i. Hilarious being in England with Reza. Every day we'd go somewhere.
Twice.
There was one night we were walking to a bar and we're literally on a street. It's a street. It couldn't be more nondescript. It was like a road, and he's like, this reminds me of Shiraz. I'm like,
It did.
this is a street. This looks like
every time
Willowdale or Richmond Hill. And then he'd have a piece of pie or something. This reminds me of Shiraz.
Oh my god, you guys don't deserve.
You know
this.
how I would introduce myself as Kion Doq whenever we were with our guests.
Oh my
I feel
God,
like,
the
I feel
Shiraz card.
Yeah, he was trying to
Represent.
show off that he's from Shiraz. He's like, with who are we with? Nazanin Ansari.
Oh yeah, it was her
walking.
street that it reminded me of the
No,
street.
it wasn't. No. Oh, that one too.
No,
There's a number of streets.
Well, two
That every
streets,
street we
I
went
said
on
twice.
reminded you of Shiraz.
Literally.
There is a
Nothing
huge
like
community of
Shiraz.
Shirazis in London, by the way.
What's that?
There is a huge community of Shirazis in London.
Well, yeah, we would know that because you have to say it every stop. It's great. You're
trying
a
to-
proud Shirazi,
I
but
don't mind.
yeah.
This
I like
guy,
it.
man.
It was just anything,
Literally.
and things that are iconically British,
Yeah.
Oh, the tube, this reminds me of Shiraz.
No, actually, you asked me that. You were like, does this tube remind you of Shiraz too? I was like, actually, we do have a tube there.
We get it, man. You're from Shiraz, okay? Land of the poets.
Did you go
right.
to Baker Street Station?
Oh, no.
Yes.
We did?
Did we?
Why do you ask that? We passed through it.
Detective,
That's what we did, yeah.
Sherlock Holmes is from
I
Vegas.
love that
Sherlock
place.
Holmes.
Actually,
yeah,
I
yeah.
lost there and
Yeah.
You got
because-
lost there?
Yeah.
No way. Oh.
I was high and I couldn't find the direction.
What else is new?
Oh, fantastic. On that note, this is full time for Roqe for today. Thank you to the fabulous Kion, Captain Reza, Groovy Shaya, and the whole Roqe team for putting the show together. Producer Susan Ponta, the artist, Super Patty Saw, Savvy Roham, Arai Merdad, and sponsorship Sean. Our website is roqemedia.com, where you can find everything, all things Roqe, the funnies, the videos, the episodes, the guests, roqemedia.com. This Thursday, we launch our Roqe series, The Contemporary History of Iran. Part 1 is this Thursday. You want to tune in for that on this regular Bat channel. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi or on Facebook or any of those platforms that don't work. Mizun Bashin.